Mhm.
Well, hello everyone. This is our another Lunch and Learn series with Dr. Coffman. So, welcome, Dr. Coffman.
Thank you. Hi, Magda, and hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be with you all today. I am coming to you from Texas at the moment. I had some travel that I couldn't change, so here I am. And it's warm. It is getting warm down here. Um, Maggie asked me to introduce myself, and I'm an osteopathic physician. So I'm a DO that graduated from Kirksville in 1995 after doing a fellowship, a predoctoral fellowship there um, in osteopathic manipulation. My practice went forward with emergency medicine. I did family medicine and then practiced emergency medicine. Finally made it full circle, made that another 180 or 360 to be doing osteopathic manipulation and integrative medicine um, as my practice. Several years ago, I even stepped out of that further and expanded what that meant to me. And it meant a lot more teaching and some writing. So I was able to write and publish my first book, which is about health but it's fun, health and humor, and um, and do some more teaching for the osteopathic community in general. So um, both MDs and DOs that practice osteopathy, particularly osteopathy in the cranial field. So it's kind of a subtle form of osteopathy. Today, we'll be talking about first layers and tight bands. Um, Fit and fiber is really what we're going to get down to of what goes on with the first layers as we're getting dressed for the day. All right. And Magda, did you have some other things that you hoped we would touch on as well? We might be getting into
I
that.
was well, since it is about clothing, I was thinking about fast fashion. If this is something you want to talk about,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know,
well,
like most people, some people know, some people don't. I was just cleaning my closet before my big trip, and it's impossible to recycle clothes at Johnson County, which I'm surprised because
mhm.
they just want donation of clothes in good condition. But how about the ones they could be reweaved or rags or something like that? So if anybody has any idea where you can recycle bad clothes in our area, please put it in the notes.
That'd be excellent. Yeah, thank you. Um, well, we'll explore the structure of base layers. And actually, I did refer to the book that I wrote, and it's really about first layers. This is the book. It is Booby Traps, a book of bras, breasts, and bands. But if there are gentlemen in the audience as well, this still has it encompasses more than just women's clothing. Um, so we have bands that we tend to wear with lots of our clothing, whether it's a waistband, a belt, snug snug belts and waist, watch bands, neckties, hat bands. And then if we go to the children, little tight headbands that are placed on kiddos or tight caps, diapers, even as we start to look at how babies are diapered. So the the book actually touches on all of those with sort of a focus on one that's the one that I feel like we need lots of education about so we can choose the best undergarments for ourselves. Exploring the structure of base layers. They have lots of names. I just kind of went over those, but other names for base layers and first layers are underpants, undershirts, bras, shapewear, also known as girdles. We don't say girdles anymore. I ever hear that, but we hear shapewear. Tummy control, compression wear for athletics, compression stockings for edema, so for travel and swelling, um, elastic binders. These are all examples of what may come down to our first layer that we really need to think about our full body and health and how that's affecting it. And it may still be the best choice for us at that time, but we need to know how long we need it for that period of time. In the back of my book, I think I'll just read it right off this. There's a fun line of, there we are, I can't find it. We wouldn't run a marathon in our prom shoes, but we would wear, prom shoes are still applicable for a period of time, and marathon shoes are applicable. They're really not the right thing for each setting, for each person. So we use our clothing, use our choices to best suit us and support us in each of these roles that we play. From design to the finished garment, we explore how form affects our function. In particular, compression or shapewear. So compression is what we'll see a lot of times in the athletic department of a store. There'll be compression garments. They can also be in the pharmacy for compression garments for, like I said, for travel or lymphedema or post-surgical swelling. Shapewear is going to be in other departments and meant to be cosmetically shaping and changing how we appear in our clothes. They're designed to make a significant change in our shape, either to lift and tuck or to decrease that fluid buildup. In some garments, some of our first layers can be a lot looser. They can be a gliding or protective layer, like a silk undershirt or knit or woven undershirts, camisoles, and loose undershorts. With this so far, I'd like a little feedback from our wonderful audience here. Are there any particular garments that you've just kind of wondered why you put it on every day or for certain occasions? Or is this piquing an interest of like, why do I do that? Or maybe that is a little snug, or maybe that could be modified some. So if we get some comments coming back through, that can help us to fine tune our presentation piece here. As we go on, we look at how a tight circumferential band, whether it's a wristband, a chest band, or a waistband, can impact the entire physiology. These restrictive garments really affect us from head to toe. The way it feels to me as an osteopathic physician is when I place my hands on someone, like let's say a child with just looser, looser garments and no chest band or tight belt or headband on them. When my hands are on this healthy young being, there's a bit of vibrancy. There's a real, I see someone. I don't wear them anymore, but I couldn't read the whole thing. Did you see that? Okay.
Yes, I don't wear them anymore, but just a second. Pantyhose were always very uncomfortable.
Yes, yes. Oh, thank you for that comment. Yes. We'll come back to where I was going, because the pantyhose is just the funniest thing. That you can't even find them anymore. They're not in the. I once in a while pick up a magazine. We don't even see ads for pantyhose in fashion magazines anymore. It's the funniest thing. And they were, like, goodness, decades of the rage of going from garters to pantyhose. And the simplicity of it was, if anyone out there besides our guests who commented, when you pulled, did anybody ever see the commercials where I think it was legs, and they were in the little eggs? They would come in a little egg container, right? Honestly, if you just even start to think about that and think that these could be queen size, by the way, which just meant extra large or double extra large. And if you could put a garment stuffed into the size of an egg and pull it out and put it on someone, my mom would wear that size. She was 6 feet tall and slender. you can put that on a 6 foot tall person, there might be an issue. There might be an issue. And it's just common sense. You pull it out, the little waistband, especially when they started going to control tops, the waistband would be in its natural state, probably 18 inches around, maybe 15. I never even looked at the smalls, but I always got the extra big ones. And, and then to squeeze one person in there, that it's pretty obvious. Yeah, the marketing would say, oh no, it stretches, it holds and lifts and does all these things for you. It's like, no, it's really 18 inches and that's what it wants to do all day long. It's also what's happening a lot of times with bra bands. So if you go home and you look, take a look at a bra and stretch it out, unhook it and lay it out, length, measure it, then measure the area that it's supposed to cover around the rib cage. And we're usually pretty shocked. I've not seen anything that's not at least 5 inches smaller than the rib cage, and usually quite a bit more. 5, 7.
I think the pantyhose are out now. I just threw away last with the closet cleaning recently, but now I think they are these, like, I think Kardashians or one of those,
Yeah.
several celebrities, they do the shapewear, which is almost, it's like back to the girdle.
Yes.
Because I was just looking it up because I'm no trend watcher or anything, but I saw it someplace and I said, I have to see what this is. And it's so tight,
Mhm.
it's just like, yeah, we are back to girdles.
Yes. Yes. They never left. They just kind of changed names, and the fabrics got a little smoother, and they don't have as many um, reinforcements or wires
Yeah.
and plastic
Yeah.
bars in them. Yeah, it got smoother, but just as restrictive. So here's what I can share that's just personal to me as a physician, as an osteopathic physician, and having had the honor to be able to treat and work with people hands-on for 30 years. This, what it feels like is a healthy body has just a little vibrancy, little vibration vibrancy to it. And it has some similarity throughout the whole body, with different areas can be fine-tuned, that I can know that I'm on different organs or different areas. But overall, if you put hands on a healthy body, you're going to feel this nice fine vibration at the shoulder, just as you would at the hip, at the leg, over the heart, all the way through the body. And what I feel when someone has maybe a scar, a surgical scar or a traumatic scar that's kind of thick, even thin ones, but if you can imagine sort of a thicker scar or something, and you put your hands on that, it feels different. You could try this at home. Put your hands over if you have the option to feel a thicker scar. It'll be cooler just to touch. It'll be firmer, and it doesn't really feel like a fine, lively vibration to it. It doesn't feel, not alive. It just doesn't feel invigorated, vibrant. And the area above and below can have some shifts as well. So if I have my hands on either side of it, there may be an area upstream from where I expect electrical flow to flow or lymphatic flow to go. That doesn't feel quite as vibrant either. There could be a little stagnation in the lymph heading toward the heart. There can be a kind of a buildup of electrical flow, and then a scattering or a changing in that information. I'm going to pause just a moment. Like I said, I'm borrowing this nice camper today to do this, and the door's making a little noise. I'm going to fix that. There you go. Okay.
Actually, we didn't hear it, so you are fine.
You weren't hearing it. I'm glad. I was definitely hearing it. I was like, oh, a little too much for me there. Um, so when my hands are on, and I can find and feel scars easily through clothing, you know, if someone's flying their clothes, it's easy for me to find those. It's also a very similar sensation when I feel something that feels like a removable scar. So many times, and the reason I wrote the book and kind of focused on the bra was that better choices could be made, um, either in the shape or the design or the sizing, or whether you need one on right then or not, or something, or a whole different option. And many of us have seen, but we kind of don't talk about it or look at it very closely. But we've seen as a person walks by and they're wearing a bra, we'll see the kind of dents over their shoulders, perhaps, or there may be where the sweater or the t-shirt kind of grabs at the chest in the back or on the sides or on the ribs. And we really don't think about it twice. It's the bra marks, basically. Have we ever heard of the vacuum tracks? Right? Remember this old joke that I don't think you vacuumed. You have to vacuum the room. It's like, how can you tell? I don't see the vacuum tracks. And I always think of that, and I was like, oh, this person may or may not be wearing an undergarment, a bra with snaps and elastic, because I don't see the bra tracks back there. We don't want to see bra tracks. Interestingly enough, about the time pantyhose started to come a little bit out of vogue, we also started to see more bra tracks. Something shifted in fashion about this time. Not that it's completely related, but about this time is when we started to get access to, as you would say, a little more fast fashion. You could get bras at the dollar store and at Walmart and so forth. And there wasn't really someone there doing the fitting and sizing. Um, so we were all sort of on our own. Or now, the next transition was you can order them. Right? You can order your own right off the internet, and just hope for the best. But as that was happening, the reality that bras aren't really made for women, made for people, becomes more and more evident. The sizing, you can look at it. Maybe somebody measures the best they can at home. They're like, okay, looks like a 36C. All right. We'll talk about the letters if you want to. That's only if we have people interested in that. A 36 says that the band size around the chest is going to fit a person with 36-inch chest. But when the garment comes with a little tag that says 36C on it, and you lay the garment out and do what I did, which was, that's weird. Usually 36 inches is about 3 feet. This doesn't look like 3 feet. I measured it up and it's 25 inches. It's like, oh, interesting. And I called the company. I said, this garment is 25 inches around. I can't breathe in it. And before I said I couldn't breathe in it, well, they said, oh, don't worry, it stretches. It's stretchy. I was like, oh, no. It's 25 inches. That's its natural resting state of recoil. That's what it wants to be all day long. And I'm not 25 inches in my heart, lungs, vascular system, ribs, muscles, hopefully, skin, adipose tissue. Like this doesn't hold. Doesn't hold true. So there it is. We all start putting them on anyway because we measured and then we picked the one off the shelf that had the label that said the right number, and we're like, okay, well, I'm in the right size because I measured. And it's sort of obvious. It's like the pantyhose that are just a few inches around. but that probably shouldn't go on our rib cage. If it were a medical device, we would say use this only for a few minutes to an hour at a time, and then you have to take it off to get circulation back. I still haven't told you what it feels like, but I have told you about what scars feel like, and that's what it feels like to me when I feel, in particular, oftentimes it's a bra, even with a hardware in it, like a metal underwire in the cups. That's also affecting the electrical flow of the body and picking up the electricity in the room, as we talked about on the EMF talk last year. Wow. I think we could probably pause for a moment. I'll get a little drink of water, and I welcome some comments there and thoughts.
So the stretchy bras, that's what you were talking about, the removable scars. That's what you call removable scars?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Some are stretchier and more recoily than others.
Well, I think I am okay sharing. I had a C-section many years ago, and it took like 10 years for the scar to feel normal, and it always hurt during change of the weather, which I know doctors don't want to hear because, like, what is the science behind it? But I can always feel it. Now it's totally fine, but my stomach ever since is cold because it kind of obstructed circulation or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I do in the wintertime, I do hot water bottles.
Yes.
Heating bottles, not electric blanket. But it's really interesting because even my acupuncturist comments on it, how my stomach is always cold.
I'm glad you mentioned the acupuncturist because that's one of the times that I've really talked about scars or learned about it was with acupuncture and Chinese medicine, in particular when C-section scars on the outside, on the skin. We have a comment. What clothing? Oh, sorry, I put it far enough
It
away
says
that
what clothing alternatives are available for more comfort and good health.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get there. Um, so a horizontal scar around the body, or in this case, C-sections, usually we make them horizontal and they can be kind of tucked under an underlayer, right under the underpants and low, so you can wear certain clothing and not have
swimsuits,
bikinis. Yeah, and that horizontal scar, a lot of acupuncturists would talk to me and say that's an effect, particularly on triple heat or triple warmer, which was interesting to me because triple heater is up in here, but they say some of the internal flows of it can affect the regulation of the heat and cold of the body. So I thought that was really interesting. Other low abdominal surgeries for women, often that could be a hysterectomy or oophorectomy or other GYN surgeries, may involve a little horizontal scar on the skin. Just an FYI, that horizontal scar on the skin may or may not be how the incision is deeper. Isn't that interesting? so on the organs or whatever we're looked at, but that's just kind of the zipper or the opener to work with. Yeah, very interesting. Even the little scars can still have an effect, but scarring in general we like to keep minimized. And I think surgery has obviously progressed over the decades to become much more minimally invasive, to have much smaller areas of scar post-surgical. So
what? Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I was going to address this person's question about comfortable health, comfortable clothing.
Absolutely. You know what I'll do? Here I do have 12. So I want to keep an eye on the time, make sure I do get to that. What I think I'd like to do is I'll go through a couple other factors that we'll want to know about. So it'll become much more intuitive as to what alternatives would be best for each individual, and for each individual at different times, whether you're going to prom or you're running, you're in a professional setting or you're on the beach. Let's see if I did write a little blurb up here. So the flow of circulation is what gets changed. And as Magda, as you mentioned with an actual surgical scar, the circulation includes the blood supply to and the venous drainage from tissue beds. It includes a lymph supply to, within, and a drainage away from tissues. And circulation even includes that electromagnetic flow of energy across the surface of the body and supplying the tissues and organs beneath. The breath supplies oxygen and nitric oxide, and it expels carbon dioxide while providing the motion of the diaphragm, if you can imagine the diaphragm's going up and down, to improve lymph drainage. So circulation is looking at all the fluids of the body and the gases within it. And it includes the built-in mechanism, one of the built-in mechanisms of our diaphragm, raising and lowering and making the pressure inside the chest, the thoracic area, to be negative pressure, and then changing the pressure to, I'll back up, as the diaphragm descends and contracts and gets lower, it's like a piston. We've now created suction, negative pressure to suck air in. So we have this negative pressure creating a little vacuum to pull the air in through our nose and mouth. As the diaphragm comes back up, we let it out. The extra special thing that's happening here is there's always a negative pressure inside the thoracic cavity for the lungs to stay expanded out to the walls are kind of pulled out there. And it also pulls the blood back into the heart, and it pulls the lymphatics back in, the lymphatic lymph fluid, the lymph, there we go, the fluid. So I just like to think about that. As we have that negative pressure in the chest, then the organs in our belly actually also get lifted by this negative pressure. If we don't have that, or if we have a scar in the lung, scar in the pleura covering the lungs, or if we apply a scar, we go ahead and put one on the outside, strap it on, we decrease the amount of negative pressure we have to lift our organs in our belly. I want that to sink in a minute. So that liver, that if we took one out and laid it on the table, weighs about 7 pounds. When it's in the body and has a nice, healthy heart and lungs and diaphragm, it acts like it's about 3 pounds. It's kind of being suctioned up and lifted, as well as all the other organs. It takes a lot of pressure off of the other big deal diaphragm, and we see this all in billboards now, the pelvic diaphragm. It takes a lot of pressure off of that to have this intrathoracic negative pressure lift and go through. Tight bands and braces feel like scar tissue in my hands. They disrupt the energy, the breath, the lymph, and the blood flow. They can be removed, and they can be minimized, as our guest asked. We'll get there. We're also going to talk about textiles and metals and how they affect our body, the inside and out. And I'll double check the time. So yeah, we're good. So those first layer choices of textiles, of fabrics, they're right on our skin. We have pores in our skin. We know on the medical side of things that we can stick things on the skin to be absorbed. We have lots of transdermal medications. I can think of hormones right now as an easy one. So hormonal patches can be placed on. Chemotherapy agents can be introduced transdermally. We apply creams and lotions that can be absorbed transdermally. Um, and in the case of undergarment first layers, either bras or underpants, we have lots of openings in these areas. I may not think about bras and the skin having openings there, but the ducts for the breast end at the tip, at the nipple. There are little pores there, we call them doors, and doors can open both ways, so it can have uh, more absorption of whatever chemicals, oftentimes in our clothing, through these little doors. So it's also, as I mentioned, chemotherapy agents. There are a few articles that I'd found while I was researching for the book that were looking at being able to deliver the medication directly to breast tissue by placing it on the nipple tip where all the little openings are for the breast ducts. Well, very interesting for me. So what do we have out there for clothing? Synthetics. A lot of our things are in the synthetics now. A synthetic nylon, a synthetic polyurethane, lycra and spandex, and things that we use for shapers and all of these. The upside to them, as a textile, they're pretty durable. They're pretty inexpensive, much less so than their counterpart of silk or knitted wools and so forth. It's easier to make and produce them. They perform well as far as the fashion. You can get the shapes and the molding and whatever shapes out of these things pretty well. But the downsides is, and so, it may be a prom shoe type of issue. It's like, oh, yeah, sometimes this particular celebrity gown may require this, but we want to just think about what we're doing with it and know that this isn't something to wear. It's not a particularly healthy choice to be wearing day in and day out. The synthetics also obstruct the electrical flow. Back on the EMF talk we gave, I don't know if I talked about this in particular, but I was talking about grounding or earthing. And I knew synthetics would block it. And I'd read and I knew that natural fibers, such as like a wool slipper or a leather sole, just leather sole, if you stand on the dirt, you can actually still get fully grounded. It's all the things that an electrician would not want. They want a thick rubber sole and make sure that they're safe and not going to be grounding around large electrical currents. So anyway, I did have a meter and I went out to the yard and I was playing around. And I was like, wow, I could put on the perfect earthing shoe, but if there's some synthetic in my sock, it blocked it. And so, a full-on wool sock and a leather shoe where you can earth in a safe place if you want to. It also occurred to me that was part of the vibration that I was feeling on synthetics and clothing, because we do have an electrical field of our own with our body. This is how we make EKGs, electrocardiograms for the heart. It's how we make EEGs for the head, for the brain. These are measuring electrical fields of the human body. So we have them, we know it. We can measure it almost across the room, but we don't. We usually just put stickers on the person and so forth. It occurred to me that the synthetics were also disrupting that field as well. So it was interesting. Again, there's sometimes when it's still the best choice. It's providing a protective function, this clothing and this and that. But it was nice to think about, were there times when I could make a better choice for my own first layers or clothing? Some of the compounds that are concerning for me are the polyurethane in particular. A lot of shapewear or inserts for the cups of bras will have a layer of polyurethane or stretch polyurethane, or almost like, oh, help me out. What are the mattresses? The memory foam?
Memory foam.
Yeah, memory foam. the memory foam in a lot of bras, and variations thereof. And it's well documented that polyurethane and the memory foam outgas a little volatile
Mm-hmm.
um, compounds through the life of the substance. Because I thought, okay, well, you could just air out your mattress or air out your new garment or put them in the sunshine for a little bit. But it doesn't. It's the life of the
Mm-hmm.
substance that it's outgassing. And those are things that are going right over the little doors, the pores, and other areas. So we really need to be extra thoughtful on these. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we go into those natural fiber ideas. Some of them that I'm sure our audience is aware of, would be cotton, linen, which comes from flax, silk, wool, leather. That's about as big as my list got. Again, chime in if you can think of another natural fiber that we use for, bamboo. Bamboo's a question though. Things will say bamboo, but it's, I think we need to be really clear on what exactly bamboo fiber is happening in our soft clothing. So it's taken and made into chemical components and then remade into fibers. So it's not actually like, cotton fibers. You've got cotton flower ball. There, the fibers grow. They grew that way. Um, Linen and flax, the fiber grew that way. Wool, it grew that way. We didn't melt it down and reshape it and spread it out and make a new thing. So I believe some of the bamboo is not exactly what I think it is.
Well, and what I'm worried about is the pesticides, because even if you buy cotton or whatever,
Mhm.
it's like it's loaded with pesticides.
It's really tricky, and I'm glad you brought that up because uh, one thing we can look at, and I'm not the full expert on this. I'm just bringing some ideas on this one. Many times I'll be happy when I see Ecotex 100, meaning that the fibers and the textile, it comes from fibers and is made in such a way to avoid 100 of those top toxins. It's spelled OEKO. So you don't say the O, Ecotex 100. In Europe, it's the standard for textiles. Um, we get some of them here. Surprisingly, Aldi is a European company, and I don't necessarily think of like going to Aldi to find high-end fashion. But if you look, almost all of their textiles and clothings and such there, or the bedding, is going to be an Ecotex 100. What I don't know is if it got sprayed at the dock when it got to the US,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because most of the things that are shipped
Mm-hmm.
coming in from out of country uh, stop at the docks, at the ports, and are
You know,
sprayed with spray.
mattresses are sprayed with fire retardants
Mm-hmm.
because b- uh, and I don't know, but or like baby clothes in United States is sprayed with fire retardants. So that's why young mothers, friends I know, they buy it from Europe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to find that Ecotex.
I
But
mean,
again,
this is
I'm
like
not
so,
really
I mean,
sure
it
what
could,
happened.
like the more people get involved, you realize how ridiculous these things are.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I know someone who we'll bring that up. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so I think just trying to get a little more and more research there. Because I was like, wait a minute, I see the Ecotex 100 and I get excited, and then I realize that's from out of country. Does that mean that it got sprayed when it got here? Can I wash that spray off? Is that still better than it's probably I could probably wash that off. I don't know. But I can't wash the polyurethane out of the polyurethane.
Maybe Chat GPT would know. I will check it after this. I will check it after this session.
Make sure you let me know.
And then also, the mattresses. We actually have a mattress which is made out of a latex, but the natural latex is a sap of a tree.
Mhm.
So there are no chemicals involved. It was expensive as a heck, but we had
Yeah.
the bed for 15 years. Well, talking about beds, Bethany and David, they can tell you about the bed they bought a couple of years ago. Did you hear about
Yes.
it?
Yes. Are they
It's a
on
no,
today? I don't see them
no,
on.
they are no
Yes,
nail. There's a
I do
no,
know.
they have a no nail bed. They took it into another level. But
Hmm.
we just have the natural latex, so there are no chemicals involved. And
Hmm.
it's 15 years later and it still holds shape, you
Yes,
know?
they do. That's really you, you did it for me. The last on here, as you can see, the healthy, low toxin choices are not only sustainable for you, but sustainable for the earth as well. And these natural fibers can often have a really long lifespan when they're
Mhm.
cared for properly, when we know how to air them out and how to, we don't really overwash them, to be honest. Many of them don't have to be washed quite as vigorously as we wash our synthetics. And they can be harvested new, but as we talked about at the very beginning of how can we perhaps avoid that term fast fashion, but how can we avoid um, making trash and recycling? And with these with these natural fibers, you can reinvent them. You start go to your maker shop, your maker group, pull out your sewing machine, pull out the knitting needles, learn some of these crafts, and some of them can be quite simple. You don't really have to have a sewing skill to
Mhm.
recut or reshape things. Um, and to be honest, I lucked out growing up this way. It was a little bit of a necessity at the time, and then really in the mid '70s in the Midwest where I was, there just really weren't. You really couldn't get many things. Um, And so my mom sewed. She also, I think I mentioned, also she was quite tall. She'd already learned a few sewing skills to make clothes that fit her. But we would often go through, and like you said, maybe an old dress was donated to the Goodwill or something like this, or yard sales and so forth. And maybe it had a little hole here or there, but she'd look at it as a piece of fabric off the bolt, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, I know what this is. This is two little girls' dresses, take it out and snip it up and make new things out of them. So I really love that crafting and art coming from our textiles and
Upcycling, the modern term.
upcycling.
The
Yeah.
modern term is upcycling. There is a comment when we were talking about the fabrics and the
Mhm.
certifications. So somebody said they are always looking for GOTS certified fabrics. I never heard of it before.
I have, and I didn't brush up on that term as we're speaking. I can't remember if it's a little higher level. Could our guest remind me? Is that a higher level than the Ecotex 100, or just a different set altogether? I feel like that's not a European one, but
Let me see.
I think the GOTS. Some of the certifications have to do with the fibers themselves, um, and then before they're made into a textile. And the interesting thing about the Ecotex 100 is it actually goes all the way to the garment, like the the finished end of the garment is
So
will be
GOTS Global Organic Textile Standard with world-leading certification for organic fibers. And it goes along the whole textile supply chain.
excellent, excellent. Okay, so that one covers all the way through as well.
Origin, social criteria, certifications, and minimum has to be 70% organic fiber.
Mhm. So definitely going that right direction. It's a little tough for me because basically, if somebody gave me a drink and they said it was 30% pesticides,
I
uh,
know, I know.
you push
Yeah,
away,
I
right?
know, I
It
know.
wouldn't even be an option. We don't know what that other 30% is. Just because it's not certified organic doesn't mean it couldn't be another
Yeah,
very healthy
because
fiber.
the organic certification is very expensive. So some people call themselves beyond organic, but they don't have actually organic certification. Some of the farmers, because they
Mhm.
cannot afford to pay, I don't know how many thousands a year to be certified organic.
It can be a lot. And so again, those sometimes you can have something better, but we just don't know what that other 30% is. So it's like, oh, they got it. So,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
thank you for bringing in that the TOTS. So we've really kind of covered. Oh, I wrote that Castile. So yeah, yes, even like what we put on our on our textiles as well. Every once in a while, I do love to stop in and do a little thrifting here and there, and and for the years past, I used to think, if it looks good after somebody's already washed this fabric a few times and this and that, then I've probably got a fabric or a garment
Mm-hmm.
that's going to hold up.
Mm-hmm.
But these days, the amount of perfume put into our laundry soaps is so strong. And and then depending on cultural pieces, some people may be adding the heavier perfume. So my other issue now is I may find something I really like, but I have to smell it because
I know.
it's almost like a stain. It's like, am I gonna be able to get that stain out, of a piece of used clothing?
I did some traveling now and sitting on an airplane next to someone for 8 hours who bathed in perfumes. And it's actually airplane etiquette now. Like when you go to church, when you go to yoga class, my dermatologist calls you to remind you you have an appointment and please do not wear any fragrances because
Hmm.
it's like
Hmm.
so toxic and we talked
Yeah.
about it, how we are breathing it here, all day
Yep.
long. And
Yep.
I was like, oh my gosh, these people, I just wish they would stop it.
It can be really, really difficult. A simple so having a non or fragrance free non-toxic soap at home. Castile soap, although take a look though, because many of the Castile soaps now are have essential oils added. Essential oils are fragrances, so just pardon me a moment with a little.
Hmm. I have a friend in Bulgaria, and she knows how much I love rose oil. So here and there, she sends me like the pure rose oil. It would
Yeah.
be, hundreds of dollars in the United States, and it's not as
Hmm.
expensive there. She probably has a source. So
Yes.
I'm just into rose oils.
I like a lot of them. Some of them still cause like an allergic reaction for me though, and I'm like, on it, darn it. Um, and then the quality of how they're made really makes a huge difference on their medicinal effect, um, but also on the
Hmm.
clean versus not. So anyway, I have a feeling that when I see the big plastic pump of Castile soap that's lemongrass essential oiled, I'm guessing that that's probably not the high quality lemongrass essential oil.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just a little guess. Um, yes. So I did want to just mention you can get you know, unscented, pure either olive oil or coconut oil based Castile soap, um, which I find pretty effective. I have to admit, it does not, it may not clean or scrub out some things that some of those potent um, detergents of my youth did.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm learning different ways to remove a spot or a stain so that I can maintain a natural fiber longer. Um, Also, my daughter is very big into fiber arts, fiber crafts, and we started doing some dyeing, some natural dyeing
Hmm.
of plants and other things. And I hadn't really thought about it, but probably you all have. Is you really have to look at whether you have an animal fiber like um, wool or hair that you're dyeing versus a non or leather versus a plant fiber. And the dyes will, some will be colored fast on animal fiber, but not on plant fiber, and vice versa. Of course, they make a different color on these fibers. So it's like, of course, that makes sense. It's a lot of fun with it. And all right, what time have we got? We need to wrap up. We need to answer that question. Other choices. Could I ask? Well, I'll start talking. But if I could ask our listener to add to that comment, I'm thinking she meant, or he, I don't know if he or she, was referring to the bras, to an alternative to bras.
You said clothing alternatives.
Clothing alternatives
So,
to.
talking about bras, I will volunteer again. I switched to those. I don't know how this is not a sports bra, but it doesn't have any,
Right.
any inserts or anything,
A pullover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, a pullover
So.
that's large enough around is the big thing.
Yeah,
well, I'll start with that, because clothing alternatives, I guess, is we've kind of talked about what options we might have, and I guess, of course, alternative clothing is not
I think
clothing.
cotton is very hard to get these days anymore.
It is. Yeah. So exactly, sourcing and upcycling can be a great help with it. For the for first layer undergarments, for the top is you can find undershirts. So honestly, the tank top undershirt in a cotton or a silk, this would be ideal, right? Or a wool. There can be very thin knit, lightweight wool that makes a great,
like the smart wool.
Like a smart wool. Yeah, that's one of them. Icebreaker is another brand I've seen that has some.
Oh yeah. I think I just bought some icebreakers. Actually, it's a wool bra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. They have bras, bralettes. They have, I'm pretty sure they have just undershirt, under t-shirt type.
I guess bralette is the term. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So those are some textile options that one might look for. My dear friend who's Swiss and lives in England, a young woman, so I interviewed her for the book, and I said, what do what's the European women think of bras and so forth? Let's see. Oh, I missed that.
Jenny has a question. If clothing in light color is safer than dark one?
Good question.
Maybe for UV, maybe for UV, or I don't know, safer from what?
Right, so many different choices. The light and the dark. So yes, dark will absorb a little more UV, actually. The light and dark difference that I know of is that
dyes. She's talking about dyes.
Yeah, I knew you meant the dye. And Jenny, you may have more info than I do, but the dyes can run the gamut, right? So you can use walnut hulls to dye quite dark, with a little bit of rust or iron, and get a nearly black dye. You can use indigo, which is pretty safe. Indigo and walnut together and get an almost black dye. And so I'm not sure that light versus dark is necessarily an issue, but whether it's a synthetic dye, a chemical dye versus a natural dye. Some of the natural dyes that are a little more vibrant can use a mordant that might be toxic, but those are usually brighter. So if I had to steer clear of something chemical wise, it would be, as a general rule of thumb, those brighter colors with more intensity to them likely have a mordant that may have used a heavy metal or so forth in them. Not all of them, but if you had said to put a rule of thumb, I'm not so sure it would be light and dark. It would be more the vibrancy of the colors. There are a few times we've gotten a nice vibrant color to begin with, like, but they are toxic. They are the pokeweed. pokeberry can make a vibrant berry shade, but the stuff itself is, you know, you don't want to eat. Don't eat that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yep. So talking about other options, we'd like to look at an under layer that fits your body. So you want to measure your body, and then, and you don't even have to look at the number. You can just take a string and see how far it goes around you, and take the garment you're thinking of wearing, and see if the string goes, you know, is it as big as the string? And if it's not, start looking at how you can go bigger with that. Look at what exactly you require that garment to do for you at that time. If you're going to run sprints or on a track team, and you've got to run and jump and wear a school uniform that might be like a leotard, you probably do want something that's a little more of a brace. But track meets can last 4 to 8 hours, and you don't compete in events for 4 to 8 hours straight. So you want a t-shirt to toss over your leotard top, and you want to be able to release the back of that brace and be able to breathe in between events. This is sort of like, you know, the next level with it. And underpants, I think also going looser with those is a very big help. As a physician, I've seen a lot of things in a lot of parts, and the undies have just gotten crazy snugger and snugger and snugger. And as a human and a person ordering my own underclothes, you know, I come in, I'm like, well, that would fit on my 2-year-old granddaughter, but not on me. That's come on, you know, how about adult sizes here? So
yeah, everything is a stretchy fabric these days.
yeah, oh, it's stretchy. It's like, no, that's a tourniquet. I know what that is.
Yeah.
We want our skin to be able to breathe. We want our electricity to flow. We want our lymph to flow. And when we, you know, if we have times we need to brace an area or shape an area, do it, but just know what we're doing and be educated about it. I think we're kind of wrapped up there at the 1 o'clock hour. Are there any questions that I could?
Well, I think we answered all of them. So, well, thank you very much, Dr. Coffman. Thank you very much for attending. And we have some other classes Dr. Coffman and I are discussing. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.